Alright, it's time for another Dragonlance review. We're going to talk about Dragons of Winter's Night, which is the second book in the Chronicles trilogy. In this, the companions have returned a hammer to this dwarven kingdom in return that the human refugees from Pax Tharkus will be safe from the dragon armies, essentially. The companions then go on a scouting mission to go to this place called Tarsus, which they think is a seaport city, which in turn isn't actually. It's landlocked due to cataclysm. Dragons then attack the city in an attempt to get the companions. What ends up happening is the companions get split up into two groups, and they have to go on separate adventures. The group gets split where Sturm, Lorana, Tasselhoff, and Flint are teamed up with a guy by the name of Derek Crownguard and some other Knights of Solamnia. And they go to a place called Icewall, which is very briefly mentioned. I think it's in another book where that all happens. And they go to Solamnia and with a dragon orb, and their fate is decided, essentially. Meanwhile, Tanis, Goldmoon, Riverwind, Caroman, Raceland, and Tika end up going a different direction, and Tanis is left with essentially a choice at the end. Overall, how did I like this book? Well, I'll get into my one big pet peeve with this book. The whole thing at Icewall is cut out of the book, and I don't know why. I don't know, because if it's because there is a scene with the dwarves in the beginning that's not essential, where they get a hammer that supposedly was used to forge the Dragonlances. And that's in a book called Dragons of Dwarven Depths, which part of the Lost Chronicles trilogy. So, I mean, that's skippable. But this whole ice wall thing, I'm not sure where it's collected. If it's even written out. I know it has to be somewhere. And they probably talk about it in the annotated chronicles. But that really, really irritated me. It may be in Dragons of High Lord Skies, which is the second of the Lost Chronicles, but I really have no idea. Next, there really isn't anything else I dislike in this book. It's a superb read, and a big step up from the first book, which the first book was really good. But the second book, it seems like so much more is found out and it's at stake. The companions now have a better grip on what's going on and what will change the war. But unfortunately, a lot of it spirals out of control and they can't deal with it. Some really great moments. There is one scene in particular, it's a very long scene, where they all share a dream, and it predicts the future, essentially, that is key in the following book, but actually starts happening at the end of this book. We find out that there's such a thing as good dragons. It's officially established now. Fizzman returns. I mean, it's just such a really, really good book. I can't spoil a lot of it, though, because it is a tragic book. This book does not end well. In fact, it very much cliffhangs. But we start to see some character change. Raceland has grown a lot more powerful. And we start to see his true ambitions. They start to play a big role in this. Caroman is so devoted to his brother that he can't pledge himself to Tika, and that causes strain. Tanis has this ultimate decision on what to do with his life, and does he make the right decision? Well, you'd have to read the book to find out. And then we get to Lorana. Lorana starts to stop being a spoiled, rotten little brat. I mean, she still has her bratty moments, but she is growing into the character that we will see in Dragons of Spring Dawning. And we also, Gilthanas gets a sudden... There's a great change to Gilthanas, and he starts to become more peaceful to a degree. But that takes more precedence in the third book. And lastly, Sturm, he's tried in both physically and spiritually throughout this book. Is very Sturm heavy for a while in the book, and that's what I like, because Sturm is one of my favorite characters. But we really go through his struggles as Derek Crownguard, another Knight of Solamnia, attempts to ruin Sturm's career as a knight. And we see Sturm essentially overcome this and fulfill his destiny? ? You'd have to read the book. Overall, what do I think of this book? It's a perfect second book. I mean, not completely perfect. If they put the ice wall stuff in there, or there is another book with the ice wall battle, that would be preferable, you know. I really want to read that. Because what are the Walrus Men? I mean, do they cuckoo-cuckoo? I don't know, you know. So, I have to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Just because I don't know what the Walrus Men are. Except for they're evil. I know that. But I want to know if they cuckoo-cuckoo, you know. Anyway, guys, last video with the beard for a while. I have to make sort of a negative video coming up for the Facebook group, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, guys, have a nice day.